Hello, and welcome to another Game Domain ranking. As you probably saw from the title, we will be ranking the final boss fights in all main series Super Mario games. So, no RPG final bosses or anything, just the main series Mario games. This is a subjective list as everyone is going to enjoy these fights differently, and not everyone is going to agree. We'd love to hear your opinions on your rankings, but keep it civil in the comments. Someone liking a boss fight you didn't like could not affect your life any less. People are entitled to their own opinions the same way you are entitled to yours. Now, let's get into the video. Starting off at number 18 is the original Super Mario Bros. Boss fight. It is the most simplistic out of all the games, and you can't really blame it for that. Technical restrictions severely limited the game, as it was the first game in the series. All you do is just use the Fire Flower, shoot Bowser a few times, and that's it. If you don't have a Fire Flower, you can either go over or under him. Even though it ranks last on this list, this boss fight still has a special place in our hearts. At number 17, we have Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels. It's literally the same thing, except slightly more difficult, so not much more to say here. Number 16 is Super Mario Sunshine. Yeah, this one. With Sunshine's advanced moveset for the time, you'd think it would have been better. You dodge some bullet bills, and then do a ground pound on a few platforms. This might be the quickest final boss for a 3D Mario game, unless you are insane at Super Mario 64. It is really disappointing because there is so much they could have done with this. You may or may not agree, and I'll admit this one maybe could have been higher on the list, but I just enjoyed it less than the others. Next up at 15, we have Super Mario Bros. 3. Yeah, this is simpler than Sunshine, but it did its job for closing out this theatrical play that is Super Mario Bros. 3. Bowser shoots some flames at you and ground pounds onto the bricks, breaking part of it, each time. Your goal is to get Bowser to keep ground pounding in the same area until he eventually falls off the stage. Number 14 is Super Mario Bros. 2. This fight just isn't last because it tries something a little different and you face someone who isn't Bowser. All you do is just wait for an item to appear, pick it up, and throw it to Wart once his mouth is open. There's absolutely no variation in this fight, but I guess it can be a little difficult to dodge all the bubbles, and you have no power-ups that can assist you this time, so that's something new. Definitely the best out of the NES Super Mario Bros. Games in my opinion, even if that is controversial. At 13, we have Super Mario Land. The reason that Super Mario Land is higher than some others is just because it's more unique compared to the other 2D Mario games. This time you are facing a boss who isn't Bowser, and you aren't platforming at all. You are tasked with piloting a plane and shooting at the enemy until you defeat him and rescue Princess Daisy. Mario Land definitely gets props for trying something new, even if the game hasn't held up particularly well. Number 12, New Super Mario Bros. I have more nostalgia for this boss fight than probably any other one on this list, but I really couldn't find a better place to put it. It's really short and very simple. You run through a corridor to see Peach on a platform waiting for you to rescue her, while Bowser Jr. is standing next to Dry Bowser. Bowser Jr. throws him into a vat of whatever this is, and he somehow regains his old form and joins his son in stopping you from your goal. The fight is really a regular Bowser Jr. fight on steroids. He throws some shells at you, you kick it back, jump on him, rinse and repeat for 3 times, and then you face Bowser. This is once again a classic Mario vs. Bowser showdown, where Bowser shoots some fire and you have to get past him and press the button. Not a bad boss fight by any means, but there was just nowhere else to put it on the list. At 11, we have Super Mario Land 2. This fight is fairly standard, but like with the other original Super Mario Land, its uniqueness puts it above some other fights. You fight Wario in this, and after jumping on him a few times in the first room, you move on to the second where he gets a power-up and sports some wings that allow him to fly. But that's not it. You then move on to another room where he gets a Fire Flower and adds that to the attack list. Overall, this fight is a nice change of pace and doesn't drag on long, but also isn't too quick. Definitely worth a play since it's one of the lesser talked about Mario games. Number 10 is going to be New Super Mario Bros. 2. This fight is fine. It has you start off with, once again, the classic Mario vs. Bowser fight. He shoots some fire, you get past him and press the button, you know the drill. But that's not it, folks. When you think you've won, Bowser has one last trick up his sleeve. The cage Peach was locked in gets pulled up and you're forced to jump up platforms to save her. As you progress upwards, Bowser keeps trying to smack you down, forcing you to jump to other rising platforms. This is fun for a bit, but it definitely drags on and gets repetitive. Would be nice to have some more variation in it since the fight goes on for a bit, but besides that, it is a nice finale to Mario's coin-riddled adventure on the 3DS. Number 9 is New Super Mario Bros. U. For what seems like the millionth time now, you do the classic Mario vs. Bowser fight. Count how many times in the comments I've said that so far. But you should know this isn't it. Afterwards, Bowser turns huge and Junior joins him. You have to get Junior out of his clown car and then do an attack on Bowser with it. He won't be very happy with this clown car being used against him, so he resorts to going into his shell and spinning around trying to crush you. This fight definitely has more variation than many others, as you need to be wary of fire falling down from above and Junior throwing bombs down at you. This fight, like most others, isn't difficult, but probably is one of the more challenging 2D ones, and is definitely worth a play. At number 8, we have the first 3D Mario game ever made, Super Mario 64. Obviously, the 3D tech was very limited, so there's only so much they could do for this, but this fight is something that brings nostalgia to most of us. Whether we played it on the Nintendo 64 or the DS, seeing this is sure to bring back some memories. The fight is pretty quick. You grab Bowser by the tail and throw him against the spike. Do this a few times and you've completed the game. This can be a bit difficult the first time, as you may keep throwing Bowser off the platform instead of throwing him against the spikes, but you'll quickly learn the pattern. Number 7 is the best 2D Mario game ever made, Super Mario World. This boss fight is truly something special when compared to the other 2D games from the era, and in my opinion, this game has the second best boss fight out of any 2D Mario. It's not just a one-phase battle. And Bowser actually doesn't start off on a bridge where you need to press a button once you get past him. After you throw some Mecha Koopas at him, his trusty clown car goes to the front of your screen. Don't worry, it isn't over yet. Flames start to rain down, and pretty soon King Koopa is back along with the princess. He then drops this ball thing a few times in an attempt to crush you. Assuming you don't get crushed here, you'll throw the Mecha Koopas up to him once again, and a similar scene plays out. Bowser now comes back for a third time, and this time he is pissed. He starts bouncing around, trying to pound you into the ground. After finally finishing off Bowser by using his own weapons against him, he flies out into the distance, never to be seen again. Or probably like a few months later, or whenever the next Mario game came out. At number 6, we have our last 2D Mario game on the list, and if you have been keeping track, you know it is New Super Mario Bros. Wii. You go through these giant green doors in a corridor with fire coming at you, forcing you to do some pretty epic moves to get out of the way. This corridor leads to, you guessed it, a bridge with Bowser and a button. This doesn't need much explaining, I'd assume. So, after you press the button and think you've rescued the princess, the biggest twist in the history of New Super Mario Bros. Happens. You find out it wasn't Peach, but Magic Koopa. Magic Koopa used a wand to bring Bowser back in a much bigger form. To not get submerged in lava, you have to make your way across the room, dodging Bowser's various attacks. You could beat this pretty easily with a propeller mushroom, but to make it a bit more challenging, you could try without it, or even try a no damage run. This fight is truly something special, and I wish I could put it higher, but being a 2D game does limit it somewhat, and Bowser does take a little bit too much time, giving you a lot more time to react. This easily could have been higher on the list if it had you sprinting to the end, dodging all obstacles, and making precise jumps. At number 5, we have Super Mario 3D Land. This fight has you going across a level, dodging Bowser and his attacks while you have to be mindful of certain blocks that you walk on falling, and other enemies you meet on your way. There's even a nod to the original Donkey Kong, where Bowser takes a huge barrel and just yeets it at you. Following this nice reference, you, for like the 85th time, meet Bowser on a bridge and have to get past him and jump on a button once again. But hey, it is a little different now. You have to get Bowser to break a few pillars so you can move on. However, instead of defeating Bowser, it just unlocks a new passage for you to go through. You do even more platforming, and this part is definitely better than the last, and you finish by going on a bridge once again, but it is not the same this time. This time, Bowser just bolts at you while you have to maneuver past various blocks and finally reach the fabled button across the bridge. 3D Land definitely is one of the weaker, if not the weakest 3D Mario game, but this boss fight is nothing to scoff at for its enjoyment. Getting into the final 4, we now have 3D Land's sequel, 3D World. This boss fight is similar in a way to its predecessor, since it is more about completing a level rather than directly fighting Bowser. You reach a tower-looking structure, and Cat Bowser, otherwise known as Meowser, isn't too keen on you climbing up it. It starts out pretty easy, as you have some easy jumps and only one Meowser after you. Once you make it to a certain checkpoint, all you have to do is hit a POW block while Meowser is on it, and that seems simple enough, right? Well, turns out he really doesn't want you to complete your rescue mission, so he uses the double cherries a few times until there ends up being 5 different Meowsers. The rest of this level has you dodging them with precise platforming, and eventually reaching the giant POW block at the top of the tower. This is a really fun final boss, and honestly it would be cool to have another boss fight like this, but maybe make it faster and more precise just to make it a bit more difficult. At number 3, we have Super Mario Galaxy 2. The second best Galaxy game comes in third on this list, but it was so close with the past couple rankings that it could have been anywhere as low as 5. I've mentioned repetition being an issue with other boss fights, and when it comes down to it, almost all boss fights will be somewhat repetitive. Well, with Galaxy 2, the boss fight is just hitting these gravity rock things, I have no idea what they're called, onto Bowser a few times to get the Grand Star. Even though it doesn't vary too much, this fight is just a lot of fun. It has you maneuvering around a tiny planet to avoid Bowser's fist punching you into the ground, avoiding him breathing fire everywhere, and also getting out of the way of these laser things on the ground. Once Bowser punches near the gravity rocks, you have to ground pound these at the right angle onto Bowser. If you ground pound in the wrong spot, you'll completely miss him, so make sure you're precise in your actions. If you're still here, pause and comment what you think will be the number 1 boss fight to see if you were right. You know, at this point, it has to either be Odyssey or Galaxy. So, without further ado, at number 2, we have Super Mario Odyssey. The most recent of all main series Mario games, Odyssey narrowly misses also having the best boss fight. Part of the reason Odyssey is 2 on the list is because you are fighting Bowser while you are both wearing tuxes. Name one other game that has you fighting a giant reptilian creature on the moon while he and you are both wearing tuxes. I'll wait. But besides that, this fight is also not the conclusion to the game either. I'm not gonna spoil it here since it isn't relevant to the ranking, but this may be the first time that the boss fight is not the grand finale to a Mario game. I could be just completely forgetting another one though, so take it with a grain of salt. Anyway, this fight has you taking on the tuxedoed Bowser on the moon after you stopped his wedding with Peach. Bowser swiftly yeets his hat at you, which you have to put on and then avoid the fire rings on the ground as Bowser keeps jumping around. As a last-ditch effort to keep you away, he throws these things made of blocks and pipes at you, which you could either avoid or punch through them. You then go on a frenzy and start repeatedly punching Bowser until his defense gives out and he swings his tail to try and knock you down. Following this, you keep punching Bowser again until he flies into the gate. The fight stays relatively similar, but it gets a little harder with the fake hats and Bowser getting a little more defensive, but this fight is amazing and completely deserves its spot as the second best Mario boss fight, and in my opinion, only one game is able to top it. That game is, of course, number 1, and it's Super Mario Galaxy. This fight has a few phases and each one feels different. The first one, Bowser rolls into a ball and you have to do a spin attack at him once his face is visible, and then after he starts spinning on his back, you have to do another spin attack. Now, this is not repeated exactly the next time. You have to do an extra spin to damage Bowser. It isn't much, but it shows how the fight is getting progressively more difficult. The next planet you go to has you hitting these balloon-looking items that stretch out and cause Bowser to spin once again. Similarly to the first phase, but it's still different. However, the final phase is where it changes up the most. Bowser keeps chasing you, and the way you damage him is when he goes in the air to pounce on you, you have to get him to land on the blue lava panel. It's not that easy though. He starts running around the planet holding his tail, and you once again have to spin attack him. If he sees you, he'll even try to go the opposite direction. Like with the previous phases, it takes more attacks after each successful time you damage him. This combination of multiple phases, increasing difficulty, and overall uniqueness is what puts Galaxy at number 1 on this list. Thanks for watching today's ranking. Don't forget to click subscribe and leave a like on today's video, as well as check out some of our more recent uploads. Make sure you also check out the links in the description, as there you will find the link to our Patreon and the link to join our Discord. Join our Discord to connect with our staff here at the channel, as well as participate in the great Domain Legion content we have going on there. Our Discord is open to all gaming fans, as we now have over 400 plus fans of the channel and gamers talking about what we love to do every single day. So come on and join to participate in this great community. We would once again like to thank you guys for all of your incredible support, and thanks for watching today's video. This has been Jake with Game Domain. We'll see you next time.